Okay.
Hi, I'm Glenn Whipp with the Los Angeles Times. Andre Braugher just received his 7th Emmy nomination, but first for comedy for the Fox series Brooklyn Nine-Nine. Andre, welcome.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us.
My pleasure.
So is that, I mean, you've old hat being nominated for an Emmy, but now you're in just kind of a different club. Any initiation did you get when you returned to Brooklyn Nine-Nine? Did these guys kind of give you any initiation into the comedy awards thing?
There was no pranks, no buckets of ice water over the door, nothing like that. We were at a read-through, and we mentioned it. We clapped a little bit. I kept my speeches brief, and then we just went about the business of it. We're all pretty happy that the show has been recognized with 2 Emmys, and for a freshman show, that's pretty good.
Yeah. I thought personally ridiculous that it wasn't more, but I mean, it's such a deep cast. The ensemble to a person is just fantastic.
I agree.
I mean, that you could recognize everybody on this show because they're all very finely drawn characters and really brought to life.
And our writers do a really good job of fleshing out these characters, through our different sort of mixing up. Some weeks Peralta will be working with Terry, and some weeks with Stephanie Beatrice or Melissa Fumero, and everyone's well served, in a certain way. Outside of Andy, there are no truly secondary characters, Andy being the first, of course, being the headliner. But we all get well served, in terms of doing stuff that's very funny and very well thought out and fully fleshed, fully realized. So I'm looking forward to in the future to seeing, more people, especially Joe Tulio and, Chelsea and Terry. I'd like to see them receive some nominations one day soon.
Now, I mean, everybody's kind of made a big deal when the show started. Andre Braugher's in a comedy, what's going on with that? But for you, you said that you considered Homicide sort of an office comedy. So for you, this is no.
I did. The first season, I mean, we're going way, way back, but the first season I thought was a very interesting office comedy. We happen to be in a business where, when we show up to work, there's dead people there. But when I think about, the variety of really, really quirky character, really offbeat performances, interesting actors, I felt like we had something really special on our hands. There's one episode in particular I remember. I guess it's called Smoke Gets in Your Eye. From that very first season of Homicide, where I guess Melissa Leo's character and Kyle Secor's character are both trying to quit smoking. You know what I mean? So there's Pembleton and both Felton in one car smoking up a storm, complaining about their partners, and then there's Melissa and Kyle in another car, not smoking up and complaining about their partners. And I just think it's just an excellent character study from that first year of Homicide. But soon thereafter, it changed. I mean, it became much more dynamic and much more about, superhero-esque kind of antics rather than missions, assignments than character studies.
I don't know. Maybe you weren't the only one to see it that way. I had somebody tweet a question to me wondering when Kyle Secor might be coming on Brooklyn Nine-Nine. He would love to see that. So clearly, there's at least one person out there that sees the potential.
Makes the connection, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting. I think with any of these shows, be they comedy or drama, they rest on a foundation of commitment. To making the world as credible as we possibly can, given the circumstances. So it's important to me to act like a commander on the show. You know what I mean? To really ground things as best I possibly can, so that our comedians can really float free. You know what I mean? And really really have a launching pad. So I consider them all to be kites, and I consider myself to be the string. So part of my relationship with them is to maintain that groundedness, that foundation at that level, and for us to stay tethered together as they go off on their flights of fancy.
But there, I mean, there was quite a journey for you in that first season, from the pilot episode all the way to the finale. When the finale episode, Captain Holt is out there on the dance floor, really showing off some excellent moves.
Wow, you remember this better than I do. Right, because we're trying to. Wow, what was that episode about? Let me see. It's hard to remember. That was.
Well, there was you kept going before the judge to.
Oh, right, right. So Peralta eventually becomes the FBI informant.
Right.
Right, now I remember. Thank you. Yeah, every episode they reveal something new about our characters. That's one of Mike Schur's philosophies, is that every script should reveal one important thing about a character. You know, so Holt has that flair. You know what I mean? Which he keeps suppressed. You know, and brings out when necessary. And you know, I like a lot of these episodes because I'm intrigued as an actor to discover, you know, my own biography. You know, there's a huge history for Holt as a police officer, and a series of transformations along the way. And I'm eager to discover what those, you know, where they are, how they come together. You know.
Yeah, the flashbacks are great where you flash back. I don't remember how far back it's going, but Holt as a young man looked quite different than Holt in present day.
Right, the mustache, the goatee, the tough attitude, you know, the no nonsense, take no prisoners attitude. I like that about Holt. But I also like our new robotic captain also, you know what I mean? And part of the fun of playing this character is coexisting as the young Holt, you know, who's a badass, and as the old Holt, who's a robot. You know what I mean? I like that. So it's the kind of mystery that I like to develop in the course of making a character.
I was talking to Andy Samberg a couple of months ago, and he said that pretty quickly you displayed the ability for timing, comic timing. You had that down, and the writers started to sort of play to that, to where as the season progressed, there'd be, or maybe the writers, but you as well, and just the pauses, dramatic pauses as you're saying a line. Like, for instance, there was the episode where Holt was, there was a competitor for this.
Glenn Whipp.
Yeah, yeah. And there was an organization. It was the
African American Gay and Lesbian New York City Policemen's Association.
Yeah, thank you for, in case people didn't have the whole acronym. Yeah, so you said something to the effect of, he is a worthy competitor. Now we must find a way to
destroy him.
But you drew out the pause between way to and destroy him. Samberg was saying to a length that just put him on the floor.
That's the brilliance, I think, of the editor sometime. You know, it's really good material it's really good material, you know what I mean? So I don't have to work that hard with really good material to bring out, you know, its flavors. So I'm enjoying it. You know, we just read a script recently, you know, this afternoon, where Holtz has another rivalry, you know, with one of his commanding officers, and they used to be detectives together. You know, they used to be. So there's a flashback to, you know, when times were good, and then there's a flash forward to the present day when they're at each other's throats, and they're very kind of cutting about their insults to each other. And Holtz competition sort of brings out the best in him. You know, the idea that someone's gunning for Holt, you know, wakes him up, you know, in a certain way, and he enjoys these kinds of competitions. So so once again, I get a chance to do that again, and I really enjoy it.
Now, you mentioned, I mean, even if you look at this sort of Homicide first season as an office comedy kind of thing, I doubt there was much improv on that show. Whereas with Brooklyn Nine-Nine, quite a bit. But maybe you're thinking back.
Well, it's sort of, you know, it's much more structured and codified, this whole idea of let's have fun runs. We call them fun runs. So after we've done the script, you know what I mean, and stay very close to the script, we do a kind of improv run where we, you know, all the crazy ideas and the, you know, suggestions come out, and we surprise each other and try to crack each other up. But Homicide, as much as we stuck to the script back then, there was no repressing certain personalities. I mean, you can't get Richard Belzer or Clark Johnson or John Polito to actually stick to the script. So at a certain point, it's just fun. Especially on Homicide, we shot so fast with one camera, but we shot so fast that we always had plenty of time to do more and more takes, fun runs and takes like that. So oddly enough, here it is, 25 almost. Yes.
Yeah, we won't put
we
a
won't do
figure
the
on
math.
it
20.
now.
It's 20 years later. 20 years later, I feel as though it's come full circle.
Mm.
Yeah.
So as the season for Brooklyn Nine-Nine progressed, were you going on fun runs of a longer duration?
Not me. I mean, I'm the string. They're the kites. You know what I mean? So I try to stick to the script and try to hold on to the story.
So you're saying no fun runs?
Not for me. Yeah. Well, they're fun, but I'm really a believer in the script. So there's not. I don't want to embarrass myself by jumping out here with professional comedians trying to catch up. They're much too swift for me. You know what I mean? So the best I can do at this moment really is to ride the rapids. And try to stay afloat.
At this moment?
Yeah, I mean, 2 years from now, I'm going to swagger in here, I don't know, wearing a pork pie hat and smoking a cigar and, talking about comedy gold. But now,
you're easing into those waters here.
Yeah, now I am. Yeah.
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 I mean, there was a lot of comments from cast members who were sort of, a little bit intimidated by you going in.
Yeah.
Just a little bit.
Yeah,
but then there would be details that would come out. I mean, Stephanie Beatrice, I believe, was quoted as saying that she found out, and I don't know how, maybe you can explain this, that you sing to your dog.
Our dressing rooms are right down the hallway from each other. So my crazy lab mix was with me last year, and yeah, we sing, we do a little singing. So
yeah. The lab joins in.
Yeah, a little howls, you know what I mean, a couple of quizzical stares, you know what I mean. When I blow my notes, a little whining, but basically we really get along. And it was doggy heaven there briefly, but now there's a war on dogs down at Radford. So
the dog's back in Jersey, or
dog's back in Jersey. Yeah.
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 And what kind of songs would you break out for your dog?
There's R&B, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So I don't know. There's the whole Beyonce album when that came out. We do a lot of Anthony Hamilton, and some James Blake, a lot of R&B, yeah.
Okay. Good. Will we be in the second season? Or I mean, I know you're pretty, just starting up the second season. Do you know, will we be seeing more of Holt's husband in the second season?
I don't know. It's Holt's sexuality is just not that important. We used to, on a pretty regular basis, sort of market, my husband this and my husband that. And, finally, there was one episode which we saw the whole cast in a different light when they came to Holt's house. We saw everyone in a sort of different, through a different lens when they were all at that party at my house. But it's just not nearly as important as it used to be, and I think because just from my view, they're drawing characters so fully realized that, unlike another show, his sexuality is not his defining characteristic, and so consequently it takes its proper place rather than being thrust in anyone's face on a regular basis.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I just love that one episode that you described, though. And as you mentioned earlier, throughout the season, you're discovering a little bit more about the character, a little bit more about Holt, and then here you had him sort of at home, and you got to see a great kind of side to him there.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that was the fun thing about watching the show as it progressed through 22 episodes and it was very much like their other show, Parks and Recreation, where you really come to, I mean, it starts out as sort of a goofy show, a lot of goofy humor, but then you start to really kind of care about the characters. I think those holiday episodes, there was a Thanksgiving one, right?
Right, the Thanksgiving episode.
I shouldn't put you on the spot.
Yeah, because I can barely remember this, but I guess we left Thanksgiving because we had to track down some money at the pachinko parlor, not pachinko parlor. I guess the I can't remember the name of the little gambling club that we went to with the Asian ladies, to discover that there was a football game on that Peralta can watch and stuff like that. The Christmas episode in which I guess I refused to be cooperative with Peralta as my bodyguard. I guess that might be one episode.
But I mean, these episodes that kind of put all the characters together, you really started to really kind of invest in them as characters that people you care about, much like you do on Dan and Mike's other show, Parks and Rec.
They become a family.
Yeah, yeah, and that took time, but that's something I would imagine you're building on for the second season.
We are. I mean, we're going to continue to discover things about our characters. I mean, there's not a single episode that goes by in which I don't, feel as though I'm learning something significant about everybody on the show. So, it's a really good gig, and it's still intellectually, artistically, and emotionally engaging. So I think I'm in a sweet spot right now.
We have a question from Tom Tolles on Google+.
Tom, you devil, you.
Yeah, saying, I live in Baltimore.
Oh, okay.
A place you obviously experienced while working on Homicide. We currently have the pleasure of hosting shoots for Veep and House of Cards. My question is Baltimore a great city to film in, or the greatest city to film in?
Baltimore, I think, I've been around a couple of times. Baltimore is the greatest city to film in.
You do realize that you're still having to shoot here in Los Angeles as you say that right now. But
it is, as a matter of fact. But Baltimore is so distinct. I mean, there's New Orleans, there's Montreal, and there's Baltimore.
Okay. Now, what makes it the greatest then? Because I've never been. I'm ashamed to say.
You've never been to Baltimore?
No.
Oh, it's gonna be hard for you to really understand when I go into detail.
I'm thinking crab cakes and
mussels.
Ripken.
Well, we got there in '92. We got there in '92, and so Baltimore, I guess Barry Levinson had recently burned down Fells Point to make Avalon, so it was not nearly as charming as it is today. It's gone through a renaissance, but it's the people of Baltimore that make Baltimore. So we spent 5 years there as a family, 7 years, doing the show, and I just grew to love it. I mean, it's a quirky town. It's got a lot of pleasures, but the people are uniformly warm and real. And so I was hoping that we would spend more time there, but then, my wife moved to New Jersey and she took my kids. So I followed,
Yeah.
That's just the way it is.
That is the way it is.
Yeah.
We have another question on Twitter wondering about, do you have a dry sense of humor? Somebody wondering. I mean, coming out, it seems evident a little bit on Brooklyn Nine-Nine. You're saying you like kind of the robotic Holt, but that's sort of the deadpan way. Do you have? You mentioned your wife. Would your wife say that you have a dry sense of humor, never knowing quite when to take you seriously or not?
I would say so. Her accusation is that I always take things a little too far, that if I had only stopped, she might believe me, but then I keep embellishing, you know what I mean? So I think she would agree that it is a dry sense of humor, but I never quite know when to stop. It's just that actor-specific thing. I just keep going and making up new details, and that's where it loses its credibility. But if I could only keep my mouth shut, I could even convince my wife that I was telling the truth.
So something, you say you've been married 22 years, so maybe by the silver wedding anniversary you'll have...
I have a goal now.
Yeah, you have a goal. Yeah. Sure,
I appreciate that.
You bet. Well, thank you for coming in.
Absolute pleasure, thank you.
Stopping by. And for more television coverage and interviews, please go to latimes.com. Thanks.